Hey, welcome to Romance Happy Hour. I'm Dylann Crush, and I'm here tonight with a guest hostess, Kaci Rose. Dawn is not able to join us tonight. She had a conflict, and so I begged Kaci to come and stand in, so I didn't have to do hostess duties all by myself. So thank you, Kaci, for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I know we were just talking about how we've seen each other. I think I've seen you more than I've seen my husband in the past month because we were in
Mm-hmm.
the the writing conference together, and then we
Yep.
were just at Book Lovers Con together last week. So
Yep.
yeah, but it's always good to see your face.
Well, it had been so long since what,
Well, it
August?
had been. It had been a long time since I'd seen you until we got together in Aruba, and then yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'll see you in August, and then I'll see you in September. So
Mm-hmm.
really, yep. All right. Well, is there anything that you want to share with everybody since you're on here as our co-hostess tonight? What have you been? You had a book come out
I
last week.
do. I had, yeah, our book in Mustang Mountain, the series that we write together, that came out on the 15th. That was May's Bad Boy Cody. We also have a collab that we're in that is coming out for Father's Day, Single Dads. That is coming out, my book, and that is, yours is actually first. Yours is coming out first, and then
Mhm.
mine, both in the beginning of June.
Yep.
Um, and I currently have a sale going on my website. 25% off all ebooks and audiobooks. So if you're in my group or my newsletter, you should have gotten information for that too.
And what if people aren't and they still would like to go check that out?
If you are not, you could shoot me an email at authorkacirose@gmail.com, or hop into the group. And if you can't find the post, then ask. But yeah, those are the two best places to get the codes and all the info.
All right.
What
Sounds
are
good.
you working on? You're working on your collab post, the collab book, aren't you?
I am. Well, and that's under my Eve London name. So yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
working on Big Temptation. And I've been having a lot of fun with that because my hero is a district park ranger. And so and we just went to Zion while we were in
Yes,
Vegas.
we did.
We kind of ran out to Zion and hiked a little bit and everything. So it was kind of fun. I don't know. I'm in the mood for summer, you know, it's like it's finally almost here. And so, yeah, so I'm excited about that. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. And then tomorrow, I get to leave at 5 a.m. and drive my oldest across the country to start a summer internship. So that's what I'm working on, finishing a book and moving my college senior and a cat across the country. So wish me luck. 20 hours in the car with a cat who does not like to travel. It's going to be awesome.
Uh-oh.
Going to be awesome.
You're going to have some great stories to tell.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see who survives. There will be three of us. We'll see who actually makes it to our destination in one piece.
We'll make it into a reality TV show. Mount a camera up on the dashboard and stream the whole thing.
I don't think anybody wants to see that. But we are joined tonight by two amazing romance authors. We have first up E.M. Gayle. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself? And thank you so much for saying yes when I strong armed you into filling a spot. Eliza was a little hesitant, but she's got some pretty awesome work. So I'm excited for you to finally come on here. I've been asking you for years, and you're finally here tonight. So
I'm not a big fan of reading my own work, but I'm sure I'll muddle through.
it'll be great.
It's a little awkward for me to read it out loud. So, oh well. But so yeah, I'm Eliza. As E.M. Gayle, I write dark contemporary romance. So think like billionaires and motorcycle clubs and mafia, but definitely leaning a little bit towards the dark. Not like super dark romance, but definitely I like to call it darkish. Because some people are like, "Where's the trigger warnings for this?" and other people are like, "This is not dark at all." So it's kind of hard to classify, but it is gritty and very steamy, very spicy. So definitely, and I've been writing now for 18 years, been published for 18 years now. And I got quite a few books. And then I also write under Eliza Gayle, writing fantasy and paranormal.
And so if people hear you hesitate a little bit as you're reading tonight, it's because you are editing on the fly and trying to replace all of your 4-letter words with something appropriate for a Facebook page, right?
Yep, I was trying to read it to myself earlier, and I was like, okay, what word am I going to put? But I didn't want to scribble in the book. I probably should have like printed it out or something on a piece of paper that I could scribble on. I'm like, oh no, I'll just do it on the fly.
It'll be great. Well, that'll be the test. So everybody pay attention and see if Eliza lets one slip and slide by. So we'll see.
Don't say that. I hope not.
I'm teasing. Well, thanks for being here tonight. We appreciate it. And Victoria, you want to introduce yourself and kind of tell everybody what you write and anything else you want to share?
Sure. My name's Victoria Hamel. I write steamy contemporary small town romance. So if Eliza's are like super steamy, mine are like a nice moderate steam. So I usually, if people ask me like, what do you write? I say basically like, think about a Hallmark movie, Hallmark vibes, but like if they were rated R. So that's like my little generalization.
That's a perfect description.
Thank you. I'm currently finishing up a work in progress, and it will be out at the end of July. It'll be the 5th book in the series, and it's called Your Mr. Brightside. And tonight I'm going to read from the 4th book in the series because, like Eliza, I'm so glad I like reread the email about like what, like we don't want to read stuff that's super racy, because like I had something picked out and I was like, so I have something very tame to read today.
All right. We appreciate that. We don't want to get kicked off of Facebook, for it's a public page. So all right. Well, should we get into it? I see Jen is already posting questions. Thanks, Jen. For anybody watching, if you do have questions for either of our authors or both, or for Kaci or, for any of us, go ahead and put them in the comments and we'll be referring back to those often as we go. But Eliza, you were going to go first. Are you ready?
I guess.
You got this. I promise. It's easier than it sounds.
It's going to be fine.
Okay,
it's going to
sure.
Be fine. You're going to do great. Are you starting off at page 1 or do you need to give us any kind of a setup?
I'm going to give you just a little bit of setup, not a whole lot. So I'm reading out of my latest release, and it is from the Motorcycle Club series, and it's called Scorched King. And so this is book 5, but each one of these is standalone romances, but in an interconnected series. So I would recommend that you start at book 1, of course, but you don't have to get the gist of the romance. So this is not technically, it's very hard to classify whether it's a second chance. It's really more of we haven't had our chance yet, because they met 2 years ago, but he has spent 2 years being like, no, I can't do this. You're too young. You're too whatever. I'm too dangerous, and all that kind of stuff, And so, but in the last book, things happened. She got hurt when the clubhouse was exploded by the mafia. So she's in the hospital now. But first, depending on how far we get, I'll start with a scene from about 18 months prior to that. So it's not quite their meet cute, but it's, in early days of when they were getting to know each other.
So is this a flashback?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
This is a flashback.
All right. We're going to leave you to it. And we will be here for you as soon as you're done. Okay.
People are already cheering you on in the comments.
Yes.
Okay.
Jen says, you got this, Eliza. Bianca says, good luck, Eliza. She also says this ought to be fun.
You didn't have to read that part.
I know I wasn't going to, but then I didn't want Bianca to feel like I was, like silencing her comment. So it's going to be great. You're going to do fantastic. Okay.
Okay. All
right. We'll leave you to it. We'll be right here.
Okay. So this is the scene from JD's perspective. So the door to the clubhouse opened and a blast of frigid winter air blew through the room a moment before a group of club women walked in. All of them looked great and probably smelled even better, from their short skirts meant to tantalize to the low-cut blouses giving all the brothers more than an eyeful. They drew the attention of everyone in the room. But it was her blonde hair and pale skin that I noticed first, because I always did. She was beautiful. Yeah, there was an F-bomb there, sorry. So whenever I pause, that's probably why, because I'm editing out a curse word, just so you know. Sasha. Even the way her name rolled around on my tongue and in my mind gave me ideas. Ideas that had no business in my head. It wasn't as if I hadn't seen her before, and every inch of her for that matter. She'd been stripping at the club for a while now. Well, I'd been too busy to go down there lately. I had a memory for every detail, and her details were straight up perfection, especially those curves. I wasn't into skinny women, and Sasha's body was pure perfection. Ooh, look at that. I said that twice. Uh-oh. Who cared if that sounded like a cliche? It was true, and that was all that mattered. I was a big man who liked to hard. And the last thing I wanted to worry about was breaking someone. I watched her cross the room, her long legs on full gorgeous display under one of the tiniest skirts I'd ever seen. She took a seat at the table where the other women had gathered. While many of the women who hung around or worked here liked to pair up with a biker, not all did. Some just enjoyed the party. Darn, she's hot. Axel rumbled next to me. It's no wonder she's our most popular dancer. That girl is special and making us rich. I didn't have to ask who he meant. We all knew. Every man at the table had their eyes on her, and I was about to lose myself over it. Of course, I was about 5 sheets to the wind because I'd hit 3 a long time ago and kept drinking. I wonder if she'll ride me tonight. Cash mused, his words drunkenly slurred. I immediately wanted to lay him out for talking about her that way. A woman like her did not need any of his filthy bleep. Zook snorted. Ain't no one touching your drunk anything tonight. Hell, you probably can't even... Okay, we'll skip that sentence. Oh, yeah, Cash sneered. You volunteering to check it for me? Because I can tell you right now, it's more than already ready for looking. Okay, forget it. I can't say the sentence either. Shut up, I growled, clenching my fists on the table to control my actions. I was the last person to start a fight, considering it was my job to end them. When every man turned in my direction, I realized my mistake. Why should I care if they wanted to sit around talking trash? The women here knew the deal. If you didn't want to be ogled, talked about, or approached, then you had no business in our clubhouse. Simple as that. I wasn't an HR department. You looking to make a move, boss? Zook asked as all eyes looked at me, waiting for an answer. You heard what Axel said. She's making us rich. I'm not letting any of you yahoos screw this up just to get laid. Unless she invites you, find someone else. And even if she does, you'd better be careful. She seems like the type to catch feelings, and the minute one of y'all breaks her heart and she quits, I'm beating you up and busting you back to Prospect. A low whistle sounded from Axel when I sat back against the chair. My muscles were tight and my heart pounded hard. But I'd said what I'd said and meant every word of it. Even if in hindsight, I might have wanted to keep most of that to myself. The silence my outburst had caused stretched across the room as the tension seethed just beneath the surface. I'd pretty much killed the party vibe over nothing. She wasn't an old lady, and I had no right to interfere in her personal life or theirs. You all heard him. Now somebody get us some more beer before I lose this buzz. The room burst into laughter, and just like that, Axel got the party back where it belonged. I desperately needed to take a beat or go back to drinking. The solution to the world's problems might not lie at the bottom of that darn bottle, but it sure as heck made them easier to ignore. I leaned against the back of the couch and spread my legs out in front of me, shoving my hands through my hair, noticing again that I needed a haircut. I could cut that for you. A soft voice from the side of the couch sounded in my ear, and I closed my eyes to let the melody of it soothe my soul like a much-needed balm. You cut hair and strip? I cringed at my words the second they left my mouth. I turned my head to see the frown on Sasha's face and the red flush of hurt crawling up her neck. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that like it sounded. Sure you did. You are not the kind of man who says things he doesn't mean. Although for someone who owns a strip club, you have a limited understanding of the talent that goes into what I do. It's not just as simple as jumping on the stage and removing my clothes. It's as much about the preparation as it is the act. In theory, I knew that, otherwise all the girls would be equally popular. I'd heard our club manager talk about what goes into the girls' routines and what makes one dancer better than the other. But if I was being honest, I still didn't think much beyond it being a strip club that made us buckets of money. Watching women strip for cash wasn't my thing. Fortunately, I had just enough alcohol-soaked brain cells left not to say all of that out loud. My mouth didn't need to make things worse. I'm sorry if I offended you. That's fair enough then, she said, stepping closer. She lifted her hand and stopped just before she touched me. May I? I blinked, surprised at the request. It wasn't often someone asked if they could touch me. My brain warned me to say no, but it wasn't fast enough to stop me. Sure, my mouth blurted. A slight smile crossed her face a moment before her fingertips gently moved through my hair. My breath caught at her soft touch as she lifted and examined the strands, not to mention the sweet scent of vanilla coming off her smooth skin. Yeah, I can definitely cut this for you. I'm not formally trained or anything, but I taught myself how to cut my own hair ages ago, and I've helped many of the other dancers out in a pinch. You don't have to worry about me butchering it. You don't have to do that. I'll get to the barber eventually. My brain was telling me to make her stop, but no other part of me was listening. It had been a long time since anyone had touched me, and even that had been too long. Sorry, I had to skip a tiny little section there. I really don't mind. It will save you time and money. I didn't have the heart to tell her that I didn't need to worry about saving money. The earnest look on her face was too damn sweet. I had a feeling that saying no would hurt her. I've got my scissors in my bag. I can do it now. It won't take long, I promise. You keep scissors in your purse? She laughed. I keep everything in my purse. In my line of work, I need to be prepared for anything. Whether it's a wardrobe malfunction or a hair emergency, I have learned it's necessary to keep a lot of supplies on hand. Smart girl. Her hand in my hair stilled for a moment, and I could have sworn her breath hitched. Those two simple words had meant something to her. Thank you, she whispered, her voice so low I barely heard it, but I felt it across my skin, like a gentle warm breeze. I froze, unable to think beyond the sensation of her sweetness washing over me. I blinked against the feeling. What the hell was wrong with me? Clearly, it was time to stop drinking. You really want to do it now? Wouldn't you rather stay at the party, have some fun? A gentle laugh rolled through her. I'm not much of a drinker. It came more for the company. My eyebrows raised at that. Well, don't worry about drinking. I've done more than my fair share tonight, so you're good. I'm not sure what kind of company I'll make tonight, though. I hesitated, hoping that if I just stopped talking, my loose tongue would control itself. Where do you want to do it? Your room? My brain numbed at the thought of taking this beautiful creature to my room and the things I could do to her there. In fact, the idea of her sprawled on my bed with her legs wrapped around my head had just imprinted on my brain. Hope that was okay. But doing anything with her in my room was the worst idea possible. I should walk away now and get as far away from her as I could. She was too sweet, too young, too everything for me. We'll go to the kitchen, I said, far too gruffly, as evidence when her face fell, although to her credit, she covered it quickly. I didn't intend to offend her or come across ungrateful, but another body part of mine wanted to be in charge tonight, and I was going to have to fight it a lot harder than usual. With that in mind, it was better not to get too friendly so she didn't get the wrong idea. As much as I was attracted to her, and as good as the idea of being with her sounded, it wasn't going to happen. There were boundaries I said I wouldn't cross, and getting involved with someone as good as her was one of them. Okay, let me get my bag. I nodded, and she hauled back to her table, whispered something to one of the girls, and then grabbed her bag. I dragged myself off the couch, knowing this was somehow going to be a mistake, no matter how much I intended to keep this simple. The first time I had laid eyes on Sasha, I'd felt a pull in my gut that I took as a solid warning to stay the heck away from her. and to this day, nothing about that had changed. All the women at the table turned and laid eyes on me, and I inwardly groaned. I could tell by the looks in their eyes exactly what they thought was going on here, and that sent a ripple of annoyance running down my spine. Not that I normally spent any time on giving a crap about what other people thought about me. Screw them. I bypassed their table and headed into the industrial-sized kitchen. We'd converted this place from a lumber mill. We'd made sure to make this place a fortress that could house all of us and any of our loved ones if the need arose, and that included a kitchen where large quantities of food could be made when necessary. Mostly it was used for club parties, but over the years we'd hunker down here for multiple situations, weather being the most common. But there were times when our enemies had to be taught some critical lessons, and we'd found it necessary to take extra precautions to keep everyone safe, which reminded me that I needed to go over the new safety protocols that Tell had recently put in place. The club was lucky to have him on our side, and I planned to do whatever it took to keep him there. I brushed my fingers through my hair as the responsibilities of being club president broke through my drunken stupor, which prompted me to swipe another bottle of whiskey from the liquor storage cabinet before I settled into place on a stool at the massive stainless steel island that filled half the room. I was going to get one night of solid sleep if it killed me. I had barely settled into place when Sasha entered the kitchen with her massive purse. "What the heck is that?" I laughed, looking at a bag that looked half as big as her. "What? I can't exactly use one of those ridiculous tiny bar purses if I want to be prepared." I laughed too. "Maybe you shouldn't carry around the darn kitchen sink." She plopped that on the island with a loud thunk and immediately started rifling through it. I had to admit I was curious to see what all she kept in there when she produced a small zippered pouch. "Here we go. Scissors, combs, brushes, hairspray, gel, water bottle, the basics." I looked at her like she was crazy. "A comb is basic. The rest of that is girly crap." She sniffed. "Well, this girly crap is going to get your haircut done without it looking like I took a pair of garden shears to it." I hated to tell her that it wouldn't faze me a bit if that's how it turned out. I didn't have an ounce of metrosexual nothing in this body, and all that mattered was keeping it out of my eyes and out of my way. "Well, then have at it. I'm not too worried about how it's going to look, but I really do appreciate you saving me some time." "It's no problem, really," she said, rounding the island in my direction. "I like helping out any way I can." I like that about her. A lot of the women who hung around the club were only in it for what they could get for themselves. Mainly club bleep, which most of the guys were more than willing to give. To keep my hands busy while she got close, I picked up the bottle of whiskey, unscrewed the cap, and took another swig. "I could get you a glass for that if you'd like." She had stepped right up to my back, and when she spoke, her breath felt like a warm caress on the back of my neck. Bleep. "I'm good like this." I was too tense to elaborate, what with her body occasionally brushing up against my back as she fingered my hair. And I felt that all the way to my bleep. I didn't even remember a haircut being this sensual since ever. I swallowed more whiskey in an attempt to drown out those thoughts. This was not the time for the past, or maybe it was. I needed something to keep me in check. "I like the way the gray is layered through your hair. It looks nice." I snorted at that. "You mean it makes me look like I am old?" Her fingers halted their movements. "You are not old," says the girl young enough to be my daughter. I felt her stiffen against me and take a step back. Jesus, I really did have a mouth problem tonight. I waited for her to give me some pithy comeback, and when none came, I opted to stay quiet as well. Despite that, the silence wasn't awkward or uncomfortable. She continued to cut my hair while I drank more whiskey. At some point in the process, she'd begun to hum, and I liked the sound of it. She really did seem happy doing this for me, and I appreciated her for it. "I need you to turn around now so I can get the front." Her soft request knocked me out of my latest stupor. "What?" "I need to cut the front. Does this stool spin?" She grabbed my leg and pulled me around while I stared dumbfounded at the sight of her hand on my thigh. Heat burned through the denim, and all I could think about was what her touch would be like on my bare skin. "There," she said, obviously satisfied once she had me turned fully around. I thought I was ready to handle something as simple as a haircut, but I hadn't counted on her stepping between my legs to do it. This position put her chest practically in my face, and her bare legs within easy reach as well. Now, no, we're skipping all of that. Sorry, you're just gonna have to use your imagination. But he's talking about wrapping her cute legs around his back, if that helps. I should have made arrangements to do something. Or at least, oh no. I'm hitting the difficult part.
We can save you, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we can save you from trying to get through the rest of it, but
It actually doesn't get it. This is not is not a sex scene, but yeah.
but
has
super,
thoughts.
sounds like it's getting super sensual. So
yeah, it is. Sorry.
Well, Jen early on already said that OMG, this is my kind of book. So I think I think you've at least piqued at least a couple people's interest with your flashback scene. That was really great. I enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. So I do want to just show the book. So this is
sure, please do.
This is the special edition that I have here. The ebook has the nice, sexy club president on the cover with his gray sprinkled hair and everything. And then this is the special edition. And so what's really special about this one is it does have a sprayed edge. This is very difficult for me to do backwards and on camera. I've tried to do this for my friends before, and I keep messing it up. Trust me, in person, it looks really good. But this book has 2 hidden messages on the spine, or on the edge, I mean. And so depending on which way you twist the book, you get the 2 messages. So the first one
bummer, I can't. Oh, there. Oh, very fun.
Be a good girl. Mm-hmm. And then you turn it the other way.
Yes, Daddy.
Yeah. And this is only available on my website. You can actually order this through Amazon, but the edge won't be quite the sprayed. It'll be a lighter gray. But my husband sprayed over this, so we wouldn't see the words until we turned it.
That is amazing. That's really cool. I know that you have a lot of really cool sprayed edges and stuff that you send your husband out to the garage and tell him to come back in until he's sprayed all of your books.
My poor husband. Yeah, he's so kind.
That is really cool, though. So you can get that one on your website.
You can.
And I think the link that I put in while you were reading, it gives them the option of going to your website as well. So
it does. It absolutely does. So yeah, you can pre-order these now, and then we'll get these made up. Yep. And then since this is book 5, if you're like a purist and you really want to start on book 1, I do have a special edition that includes the first 3 books, and this is new as well. So this is a hardback, and it also has very pretty edges.
Oh. Did your husband do those too?
No, this is printed edge.
I was going to say that looks like it would be very difficult to do that.
Yeah. No, this is a printed edge. So
very
cool.
And
it's got like character artwork in it and things like that. So I'm pretty happy with it. So like it's got like character artwork and things like that throughout it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Very cool. I know we can always count on Eliza to, I don't know, give us ideas on how we can be upping our game when it comes to special editions and things. Kaci, do we have any questions pop up? I thought I saw a couple of them.
We do. Jen's been popping quite a few of them in. Let's see. Where was the first one? So she wants to know from all of us, do you have a favorite author or one that inspires you?
Well, Eliza, you want to answer that one first since you're already in the hot seat?
I mean, I don't really have I read so many books, and I mean, I used to back in the day, it used to be specific authors, but gosh, I don't even read a lot of those authors anymore. A lot of those authors aren't even in the business anymore. I mean, right now I am like really in my Fourth Wing era. So I am like on my second read of Fourth Wing right now. So Rebecca Yarros I really like her. I do. I apparently really like that book. So, but as for favorites, it's really hard because I read so many good books.
Was there anyone who kind of inspired you to start writing?
Well, that's a funny story because I started writing because I discovered erotic romance. Like I didn't know about erotic romance 20 years ago. I would just go to the library and check out books. So, I read some like sort of some spicy stuff. You could get some good spicy stuff from trad. But one day I discovered a small press called Alora's Cave, and I started reading Laura Lee. And I loved her book so much. And that pretty much got me writing.
All right.
What about you, Victoria? Favorite authors or ones that's inspired you to start writing?
I wanted to write when I was like teeny tiny. So back then it would be like the author that wrote the Trixie Belden books and Judy Blume. And then like I read everything I could get my hands on. And so I would read like my mom's books. So I was a big fan of Irma Bonback, who was an author that wrote like, slice of life stuff. Mm-hmm. So I read those when I was a wee lass. And then when I got older and I frequented used bookstores, it was like all the historical setbacks that I could get my hands on. And nowadays I still read like a ton of stuff. As far as like one-click authors, I like Katie Roberts and Ilona Andrews and Nalini Singh, So those are just some.
All right.
How about you, Kaci?
Dylann? Oh, I was going to ask you first.
Oh man. So my one-click author right now is always Jessica Kane. Anytime I see her book, like her email comes out and I don't even read it. It's just right there. And then I also love Kylie Ryan. I've loved her books since before I started writing. But the author that got me into romance was Carolyn Brown back when she was writing Cowboys. And I got to meet her for the first time last year, and I totally made an embarrassment of myself as a fangirl because you so very rarely get to meet the person that's like you're the reason that you're doing what you do. But I recouped, and I did not embarrass myself when I met her last week, and Dylann was at my side, and I don't think I embarrassed myself then.
No, I think you handled yourself very well.
Good.
I don't know. As for me, there's like too many to pick a favorite, but I think I'm with you, Victoria. Like early on, like I always knew I wanted to write books after, I read everything that Judy Blume ever wrote. All of them. And there's just like so many. I even started with like Beverly Cleary and, just everything that I could get my hands on when I was younger. But yeah, as I got into romance, I first discovered romance when I would ride my bike to the used bookstore. And my mom, it was the summer. She'd be just like, you guys go, like, do something. And so my brother and I would ride our bikes to the used bookstore, and I would come back with like brown paper bags full of, at the time, like really all you could buy in romance was like the historical, kind of Fabio bodice ripper covers, and I would just go through like a brown paper bag of those like every week. And so a lot of those authors are not still around anymore. I don't know. If it's a good story, I'll read it. I was afraid to read Fourth Wing because, it's like my expectation was up here because people had raved about it so much. And every time that happens, I feel like I always get let down. But yeah, I too fell into the Fourth Wing thing and was just amazed. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And so right now I'm reading Shadow and Bone, the Shadow and Bone trilogy, which is an oldie. But that one's real good. And I don't know. There's too many to name. But yeah. And I go through, different, I'm a mood reader too. So, I might be like, I want to read, like a Jessica Kane, kind of binge that for a while, and then I might shift and read, like romantasy, or I might go back and, read rom-coms and stuff. So yeah, I jump around. I will say Abby Jimenez is my one click. I will always buy an Abby Jimenez book. And she writes contemporary, not really rom-com, but there's a lot of humor in them. But also, I don't know, I love her books. So that would be one that would be my one click author. That was a really long answer. I'm sorry. Do you have any other questions?
So Jen wants to know for you guys, what actor or actress would play your main characters?
Ooh, so like the book you just read us, Eliza, who do you imagine would be your hero and heroine?
How about JDM? Does everybody know who JDM is?
I do not.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He'd make a nice JD.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think of him as the Winchester from Supernatural, the Winchester father. And I'm like, I think of Jensen Ackles, who played Dean Winchester in the series. I think of him as like every one of my heroes, but the actress might change.
Yeah.
He's always the hero.
Casey,
Well, this one-
yeah. All of your heroes are him. Every time anybody asks Casey a question about any of that, it's always him.
Yep.
Well, it used to be back in the day. It used to be a lot of my characters used to be Gerard Butler, and there was a lot of that for a long time. But
he was a good one too.
Yeah, and this character, he is older character. Obviously, you probably picked that up from what I read. Mm-hmm. So that's why I thought because that JDM sort of has that that roughness about him. So I don't know about an actress though. That's a hard one because I don't know.
I always have to get on Pinterest and search and be like, okay, I think this one has blonde hair and she's in her 20s, and I have to search like blonde hair actresses in their 20s, blonde hair models in their 20s.
That's what I would have to do too. I mean, yeah, it's so much easier to picture the man for me than it is for the female. So I'm like, because a lot of times we prefer to just put ourselves in that role.
Right.
So I don't have to imagine that. I just imagine what he looks like and who he is. So
right. Well, and sometimes too, I find that if you give too much description, then it's really difficult for people to put themselves, because I mean, I feel like that's why we read, right? I mean, we read to fall in love like a million times because it's awesome, right? And so constantly you're kind of shipping yourself into that character. So how about you, Victoria? Oh, I'm sorry. Jinx, Casey. Jinx.
You owe me a Coke in August.
So in this book, the main character, Susan, she's like 5'4", 5'5", and she's like curvy, and she has auburn hair and brown eyes, and she's in her late 30s. And I was thinking, and I don't know how many actresses really fit that? I couldn't think of any. Everybody was like too young or too thin or whatever. The closest I could come was, I thought in my head, she kind of looks like, there's a show on Apple TV called Bad Sisters, and it takes place in Ireland.
I love that show.
Me too.
There's one chaotic sister, and the same actress was also in The Perfect Couple with Nicole Kidman, where she plays Nicole Kidman's potential daughter-in-law. So that actress, but like 10 years from now, because I think she's a little bit too young.
No, and that's a good choice.
Thanks. And for my male lead, I didn't really think of anybody specific. He's just like a big bearded bakery guy who also it's a bakery / bookstore. So I don't know if he exists in real life. I'm going to have to Pinterest and find an actor who could play him. The man of my dreams, books and baking.
Yes, exactly. He can cook and he likes to read. Perfect. Well, on that note, should we get to Victoria's story? I feel like that's a good segue.
Okay, so yeah.
Okay.
The book is called It Happened One Night. It's the 4th book in my series. One thing that I do in my small town series is all the books have like punny titles. So like the first one's called No Gouda Without You. And this one's called It Happened One Night because they meet because of an app, but it's not a dating app. So what I'm going to read is just the first chapter. So you're just going to get to learn a little bit about Susan, our main character, and how like her life is very stressful. So this book is a later in life book. So she's in her late 30s, and the hero, he's 45. And like Susan's a real, it's like that sandwich generation where people are taking care of kids, people are taking care of parents. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this book is for all those people out there so they feel seen.
Stuck in the middle, right?
Exactly.
All right. We will leave you to it, and we will be back when you're done.
Great. Chapter 1, Susan. Susan Brown shifted in the plastic seat next to her mother's wheelchair. She crossed her legs, regretting she'd worn shorts today. It was the first week of October, and it was 86 degrees outside. However, here in the waiting room, it was sweater weather. She should finally get around to unpacking her fall clothes. Maybe that would bring on some seasonal temperatures. Susan sighed, already missing Illinois State. She'd always loved the fall there. The campus had the quintessential college quad with soaring trees and aged brick buildings. This was the first fall in 20 years she wouldn't be there to watch the leaves change and fall to the ground. Her chest tightened. Instead, she was at St. Stanislaus Hospital with her mother. Susie, can you stop fidgeting? Susan clenched her jaw. Even though she was nearly 40, her mother still acted like she was 16. She uncrossed her legs and turned towards her mother. She needed to remember to be patient with her. A doctor didn't need to tell her that her mom was still in a lot of pain. But was it the pain? Her mother had always been quick to tell her to stop doing things her entire life. That was the reason she rarely came home since she left for college. It's freezing in here. That's why I have my sweater. Susan frowned. She'd foolishly hoped her mom would be happy to have her around. Then again, her mom thought she was taking family leave, her stomach filled with acid. Her mom didn't know that Susan, along with the entire applied education department, had been let go over the summer. The first night at the hospital, her mother had asked if she'd be able to stay for a few days or if she had to get back to work. The stress of seeing the woman who'd always been such a stern and strong parent cocooned in a hospital bed with IVs had gotten to her. She told her mother she'd stay with her until she could get back on her feet. Dorothy had assumed Susan had family leave to take, and Susan hadn't said otherwise. Of course, she'd tell her mom about her new situation. She just wanted to wait until Dorothy was further along in her recovery. Susan knew how her mom would start nagging her about looking for a job and worrying that Susan would struggle to find employment. She wouldn't admit it out loud, but a small part of her clung to the idea that her career wasn't dead as long as her mom didn't know about her getting let go. Susan pulled a pack of gum out of her purse. Do you want a piece? Dorothy looked away from the local TV station's morning show and toward her daughter. She pursed her thin lips and tapped her fingers on the arm of her wheelchair. What I'd like is a cigarette. Those days are over for you. Susan remembered begging her mom to quit smoking when she was a kid, but it hadn't been until 6 weeks ago that she'd finally put the cigarettes down. Did you take your Wellbutrin? Dorothy scoffed. You know I did. You watched me take a handful of pills each morning. A door opened and a female voice said, Dorothy Brown, you can come back now. A phlebotomist wearing pink scrubs stood at the door and waited. Susan got up and pushed her mom into the exam room. As soon as she began hunting for a vein in Susan's mom's bruised arm, Susan averted her eyes and pulled out her phone. Even though she knew by now that this part of the hospital had almost no internet service, she'd rather watch her email trying to load than see her mother get stuck. Susan shuddered. Her mother snorted. Wimp. Susan opened her mouth to respond and then decided against it. Her mother had always been Susan's harshest critic, and neither age nor her broken hip had mellowed her. Snap. The phlebotomist removed the rubber tourniquet from Dorothy's arm. We're all done. Your doctor should have the results in a day or two. Do you have the app? Dorothy shook her head. I don't do apps. Then she pointed at her daughter. She's got my app on her phone. The technician turned to Susan. You'll get a notification when the results are in. Thanks so much. Susan got behind her mom's wheelchair and pushed her out of the lab. Once they were in the hallway, Dorothy chided her. Why were you thanking her? You weren't the one who had to get stuck again. What if it hurt like the dickens? Susan spoke in the tone she used when she'd been student teaching kindergarten years ago. Don't you want to be nicer to me? Remember, I'm the one pushing your chariot. You're here now, but I know you're counting down the minutes till you can leave tonight. She's not wrong about that. I'll only be gone a few hours. Zaina's pregnant. We won't be out all night. Susan shook her head, thinking about how long it had been since she'd been to a concert with her best friend from high school. Susan stopped at the revolving door that marked the hospital's entrance. She put on the brake and walked around to face her mother. Dorothy's chin-length bob was gray. Her brown eyes were faded now, and the lines around her lips that had just been sprouting when Susan had last lived at home were tunnel deep. I'm going to get the car. You stay here. Well, where would I go, Susie? Susan shrugged. Who knows? Maybe a handsome doctor is about to sweep you off your feet. Dorothy made a sound and tapped her middle finger against her thumb as if it would summon a cigarette. Susan took her mother's lack of a retort as a win and went to get her SUV. She got her mom in the car, drove 40 minutes home, and got her mom back out of the car and into the house. She helped her get to the bathroom, then made lunch. After all that was done, her mom took her pain medication. Susan loaded the dishwasher, walked down to the mailbox, got the mail, all medical bills, and started a load of laundry. Finally, she had a moment to herself. She plopped down on the couch and put in her earbuds. She hit shuffle and closed her eyes. In just a few hours, she'd be seeing singer-songwriter Eliza Fitzsimmons from the 10th row. For the first time since she moved back home last month, she was going to have a night to herself. Thank goodness she'd been able to find a caretaker via the local Marley Creek community page. And the fact that her mother was willing to let a stranger come into her house and sit with her, that was a near miracle. Susan had been listening to Eliza Fitzsimmons since her first album came out. Eliza was the only musician she'd pay more than face value for tickets. Plus, she'd barely gotten to see Zaina since she got to town. A thrill ran through her, and she wiggled her toes, which reminded her she hadn't had a pedicure for a couple of months. Susan doubted her mother had any nail polish remover lying around, so strappy heels were not going to be part of her outfit tonight. Even if the temperatures were unseasonably high, it was October in the Midwest, boots it would be. She set an alarm on her phone and fell asleep thinking about whether to straighten her hair for the show. Before the alarm could go off, Susan's phone vibrated her awake. She'd missed a call from Zaina. Susan put her phone down and closed her eyes again. She had 10 more minutes before she needed to wake up. A minute later, her text notification went off, stirring her awake. Please don't kill me. Susan clicked on Zaina's contact and called her. Whatever was going on, it'd be faster to talk it out instead of trying to text. Zaina picked up on the first ring. I'm so sorry. This is the worst timing. I feel so bad. Susan's breath caught in her throat. What's going on? Are you okay? How's the baby? Is it Jasper? I just got home from the doctor. I'm not sure if I'm okay. I hope baby girl is okay. And Jasper is a wreck. Susan's chest tightened. Whatever's going on, I'm here for you. I'm not going to kill you. I know. You're the nicest. I mean, look at all you're doing for your mom. And, well, she can be a real pain. Tell me about it. Now back to you. What's going on? Hopefully it's no big deal. I'm sure the doctor's overreacting. But when I woke up this morning, I noticed that my ankles were totally cankles. I mentioned it to the doctor, and for the record, it wasn't my usual Dr. Kim. It was Dr. Donovan. He wasn't super concerned until they took my blood pressure, and it was higher than it's ever been during this whole pregnancy. The only thing I have going for me is that there isn't protein in my pee. Okay, what does that mean? Dr. Donovan says there's a small chance I could be developing preeclampsia, so I need to go on bed rest for now. I have a follow-up appointment next week, provided I don't have any headaches before then. I was really looking forward to seeing Eliza and hanging out with you. You know I love that song, Over and Done Or. Susan put her head in her hands. Not only did one of her oldest friends have a pregnancy complication, now Susan wouldn't be going to the concert. She needed a night out so badly. She clenched her jaw to stop herself from letting out a yell of frustration. It's not your fault. Obviously, I understand. It's only a concert. We can go to one another time. Just think, a few months from now, I'm sure you'll be ready for a night out away from the baby. This sucks. I feel so bad doing this to you. You should still go. Who could I get to go with me? The concert's in a few hours. Going alone sounded somehow even more depressing than not going at all. Listen, I talked to Jasper about it, and he told me there's a new app for concerts. It's called Concert Buddy. If you have a ticket for a concert, you can sell it on the app, and only people who are vetted can purchase the ticket. They vet people? Yep. They make sure you don't get stuck next to some creep. You can even message before the concert, so when you get to your seats, you don't feel so awkward. Plus, you paid a ton for those tickets. Why should they go to waste? Susan frowned. Maybe this Concert Buddy app wasn't a terrible idea. Does Jasper know anyone who used the app, or did he just hear about it? Jax, his bartender, they used it a few months ago and made such a good connection at the concert that now they've hung out with the person a few times. That's good to know. What have you got to lose? Susan ran a hand through her wavy dark brown hair. My life? Or worse, the last tiny shreds of my dignity? Zaina chuckled. You have plenty of dignity. You've never gone viral. That's true, Susan said, remembering how Zaina and Jasper's video from the Frosty 5K that winter had made them Instagram stars for a few weeks. I'll send you an invite to the app. I downloaded it on the way home from the doctor. I can't believe you were thinking about me right after you found out you needed to go on bed rest. That's really sweet of you. I can't lie. Part of the reason I downloaded the app and everything was that I needed the distraction. If I think too hard about having preeclampsia and what that might mean, I can't even breathe. Oh, honey, it's going to be okay. You're doing exactly what the doctor wants you to do. Plus, you've got Jasper, your mom, and a ton of great friends. Baby girl's still kicking up a storm, right? Susan could picture her tiny friend rubbing her enormous belly. Zaina sniffed into the phone. Now you are making me cry. I wish I could reach the phone and give you a hug. I wish I could hug you right back, Zaina said. Would it help you stay distracted if I give this app a try and keep you updated on my adventures at the concert? Susan asked. That would be so helpful. You don't even know. Send me that invite now then, Susan said. Thank you so much. You are the best. Now you keep your feet elevated and I'll let you know if someone takes the ticket. I have a good feeling about this. Text me as much as you can. Bye, Zaina. Susan ended the call. What had she gotten herself into? The end of chapter 1.
Cute.
Thank you.
Is there such an app?
No, there should be.
I didn't know. I didn't know if maybe you'd seen something and got inspiration from that. But yeah, that kind of sounds like a good idea. I mean, there's, like what, SeatGeek and StubHub and like all those, but I didn't know if there was one that actually was like that.
No, if anybody is hearing this and wants to make that app, I don't need anything. You could say like inspired by, but I don't need any money for it. And I would totally use it.
That would be awesome. Yeah. I know there's been several times where plans have gotten canceled because who wants to go to a concert all by themselves when somebody backs out at the last minute?
I see on the dating app so many times the first line will be like, I've got tickets to XX concert, looking for a concert buddy. I'll see it on the apps, or like they'll do weddings too, like looking for a wedding date to the cousin's wedding or whatever. But yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, I could see like meeting up with a stranger, and going to a concert if you both love that. But who wants to go to a wedding of a stranger that you don't know, I guess?
Well, it's for the people that don't want to go alone, but there's people there's entire businesses that people have made of like being someone's plus one to a wedding.
Oh, sure. We've all seen those movies, Kaci.
Yeah. But no, in real life, but it's a thing. People don't want to go alone, and other people will be like, I'll go for the food. Like they think, if it just worked out with this guy, maybe I can meet all the other single guys at the wedding.
I suppose you get a free meal out of it. That just makes me think of the movie Wedding Crashers.
Yeah.
I was thinking, was it wedding? Wedding? Is it Wedding Date?
Yeah, there is a movie called The Wedding Date.
Yeah, I think that was it. Okay.
Yeah. Funny. I'm sorry. We got distracted by your idea for an app. Your book sounds literally like, I can totally relate. To just, dealing with the parents and then everything else. So I can see that she's got quite an evening ahead of her. That's a really cute meet cute. I haven't read that one before. So
thanks.
And you said that is which book in the series?
It's the 4th one. So the Zaina character, she's in the 2nd book.
Okay.
So
she
and
Jasper. Up with Jasper in the 2nd book. Okay. I was going to ask if they were interconnected.
You can read them standalones, but they're all in the same town, and there's all different people pop up as friends and relatives of other people.
Yep. That's one of my favorite things about
it was so cute.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I saw that. No, that's okay. I was going to say that's one of my favorite things about series. Like I love it when, you get to see characters that may have gotten together in past books and they kind of pop up later in the series. And now she's obviously expecting and all that kind of fun stuff. So, because people always wonder, readers always wonder, like what happened to them afterwards?
Right.
So when you can see a glimpse into their lives, it's kind of fun. So Kaci, I see we have just a couple more questions. I know I told you guys this was going to go fast. We're already like almost out of time. Do we have, I know there's at least one more we can get to, but before we have to cut out here, what have you got for us?
When writing, do you write in silence or have music playing? What about you, Victoria? Music or silence?
I put on it's so bad. I usually have I'll put on the people talking Weather Channel or something. I don't know why. It works for me to just have people talking.
Like background chatter, like as if you were in, like a coffee shop or something and there's background conversation going on. Oh, interesting. How about you, Eliza?
I always have these headphones on, but I'd say 3/4 of the time there's nothing on. I do like Brain FM, and so sometimes if I remember, I will put that on. Otherwise, I'm just sitting here with headphones on like an idiot.
Tell people what Brain FM is if they don't know already.
Oh, it's music that's wired for the brain, so it's supposed to help you focus or relax or whatever it is your goal. And with someone like me with ADHD and very easily distracted, it really helps me focus.
And there are different, I don't know what you would call them, but there's different, not wavelengths or what are they called? Like different ranges and stuff for different activities, aren't there?
And there are certain ones that absolutely drive me insane. And so I always have to go for certain kinds. Like I like the weather sound. So like rain and wind and things like that. That's my favorite.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have I've heard of a couple of people that listen to that. There's some that are relaxing or supposed to inspire creativity and it's really, I don't know. I find stuff like that fascinating that you can kind of manipulate your brain.
Yep, you can. It's sort of this like. So I'm listening to like the rain and the thunderstorm and the lightning and stuff, but in the background there's that track that's running behind it that's supposed to be wired for your brain. It's really kind of cool.
I think they have those for like sleep and stuff too, don't they?
Yeah,
if you have trouble sleeping, you can kind of listen to some of those. So,
is that like an app that you use?
Yeah, it is. I bought I think it might have been like an AppSumo or something 1,000,000 years ago. And I bought somehow I have a lifetime license. So it must've been some sort of special deal. And it is an app.
Okay. Because I've used the YouTube versions where you can listen to like different versions of white noise or I love listening in the fall, listening to the ones that's like in the log cabin with the fireplace crackling.
I love those.
And things like that. But if it can have like a sub context to it, that would be great.
Yeah, the science behind it's really cool.
That's awesome.
I need the science that says, here, we're going to have you write your book in, just here, we're going to have you concentrate for, 45 minutes at a time and get at least 6,000 words today. And I need that Brain FM program.
Don't we all?
A very specific one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions, Kaci?
No, I think that is all of them.
Okay. Great. Well, we're coming right up on an hour. So before we wrap up, Eliza, you want to tell people where is the best place to find you? Where do you hang out the most?
Well, I'm on all of the socials, but probably the home base is emgayle.com, because that does have links to all my socials and everything there. I am sort of like a bit of a TikTok freak, but I spend a fair amount of time on Facebook too.
And for those of you that are listening later, it's E.M. Gayle. It's GAYLE.com. So, yeah. And how about you, Victoria?
My website, victoriahamelauthor.com. And then I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Victoria Hamel Author. And then I'm also on Threads as well, and Blue Sky. But on Blue Sky, I'm just there to like talk about everything but my writing. So
your escape from the everyday.
Yeah. So be warned, if you find me there, you may or may not like it.
Got it. And Kaci, how about you?
I am author Kaci Rose just about everywhere. My books can be found everywhere. Sales and bundles on my shop at kacirose.shop. But the best place to interact with me one-on-one will be my Facebook group.
All right. Well, I don't know. I can't tell if my internet was glitching or somebody else's.
I don't know. Maybe it was mine. I live in the middle of nowhere, so I always assume it's me.
All right. So that's where you can find everybody. Thank you for being with us tonight. I really appreciate you stepping in, Kaci, and you too, Eliza, at the last minute to fill in for somebody. And yeah, thanks, Victoria. I don't know. Tonight was fun. It always goes by really fast. I always say it's going to go by fast, and then I'm always surprised at how quickly it does go. So, and thank you, everybody who has tuned in to watch us live. If you do end up with other questions or anything for any of our authors, feel free to put them in the comments. And Dawn and I will be back the second Thursday in June. So I know it's weird because this month we have 5 Thursdays, so it throws us off a week. It's usually every other week, but we will have a 2-week break. And then we will be back the second Thursday in June. So until then, I hope everybody has a great end of the school year, and that we can all find a little bit of reading time. Because I don't know. I can't decide if it's going to be less busy this summer, so we'll have more reading time, or if it gets more busy over the summer. It just always kind of, like, you never know. Mm-hmm. But wishing plenty of reading time for everybody. So thanks again for being with us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.